I mean, at what point would we then say, like, all these universes, these franchises are just done? Because
I think we're here.
Yeah. I would say that. I would say that
yet, though.
At what point? I would say 2022. If we had to pick a year, that's pretty much
if you're talking about like when they recognize it, like when the companies do, even if they recognize it now, it's going to. You're right. It's going to take 2 years for them to do anything.
Well, the projects are already in plot. They're already going,
and they can't cancel projects. I mean, there's certain projects you can write off and write down, but most you can't due to contractual obligations. They tried to cancel Echo, like Marvel genuinely tried to cancel and couldn't.
They should have,
the TV show, not the guest on the panel.
Yes, the TV show.
Yes, always
the show that
I get a jolt every time I hear that.
Where they had so much respect for the character, they same with Miss Marvel. They fundamentally changed her powers from like she's not even the same character from the comic book at all now. But they had so much reverence for it that I think it was the director of the series said the comic character had lame powers. Just to let you guys know, if you don't know, Echo has the same powers as the Taskmaster, not the Taskmistress from Black Widow. But the Taskmaster can basically mimic any superhero's fight style immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Echo does as well in the comic books. And she's still like Z-list and she's fine in the books, but I don't know if you guys saw the costume. I can't find the picture now. Her costume is supposed to look super indigenous, and it looks like the kind of costume you put on a cartoon character in the 70s. It's so bad. It is so bad.
I did hear from someone who worked on wardrobe for Echo that like they were having a tough time with that one because not to be harsh, but apparently the actress gained like 20 pounds from Daredevil to Echo, or not Daredevil, sorry, Hawkeye to doing Echo. And it's like she knew she looked like shit in the costume, but they couldn't fix it. And they were trying to find a way to make it work. And everyone was just very unhappy with that one.
So. Echo, Harkness, and the Marvels just feel like all approved in an era where they were just greenlighting everything. Because there's just so many reasons not to touch any of those projects. But fuck it.
They were really scraping the bottom of the barrel with a lot of these characters too. It was just people that like characters that no normal person has ever heard of, and they were like, it's okay. The hype will just carry them. You know.
I think you could do things like Echo, where it's an obscure character that not that many people care about, if you do it on a super low budget. In which case, like that's fine. You tailor it to your expected audience because it's much the same with the comic books, I suppose. Like certain characters will get like relatively small runs, and they've got a core audience that's quite small, but like it's a cult following. Okay, fine. Like you're not going to spend a huge amount of market in it because it's limited appeal. But like with these Disney Plus shows, even garbage like She-Hulk has costed $25 million per episode. Like for the price of a She-Hulk season, you could get a really good movie. Like that's like $250 million. Like you could get a top A-level Marvel movie. What would you rather spend your money on? And it's probably going to be something similar with Echo. Maybe not quite as expensive, but still the same deal. Like a lot of money is going to go down the drain for something that's not going to add any value to Disney Plus. It's not going to generate any revenue. It's just stuff getting made for the sake of making stuff.
Yep.
And they can't keep doing it. They've run out of money.
They also turned every show into a backdoor pilot for the next show. It was just there was a domino effect, but in reverse. Every domino was getting smaller as they went along. It was just after a while, people are like, "Why am I watching the first show? If all it is to get me to watch the next show." It just becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Task.
Thank you.
Great take. Best take I've ever
heard. we lost Movie Cynic because his internet's fucked. And,
there's a giant hole in the sun right now, so that might be messing with everything.
That sun hole.
Honestly, I don't know
the sun hole. Oh, there he goes.
Did he do that on purpose?
Yeah, I hope.
So.
Welcome to the Mola Darkout Erotic Show.
This is the weirdest episode of the Real BBC. Because I have no connection to that show. That goes back.
Jesus, it wasn't me. I was just about to say that Taskmistress is Tatiana's stage name. And I was also going to say that the superhero genre to me is dead, not in the sense that it's dead commercially, but dead in the sense that disco was dead in 1980. Like it's just becoming kind of passé. So that's my kind of take on it. This is still going to fill the multiplexes, but the zeitgeist factor as well.
You're right. I mean,
you equated like watching a Marvel movie now to like catching a glimpse of your reflection in the monitor when you're on Pornhub. And it's just that's that same level of shame.
Yeah, I've seen your face.
Well, it depends on the person. Some people might go, "Hey."
Two major chapters for Disney that are left: seeing them their reaction to a box office for the Rey movie, and seeing their reaction to the box office for the new Avengers movie. Those are two things that I'll look forward to, because I think it's gonna be impossible for us to guess what kind of box office the Avengers will get. Plenty of reason to assume it'll be low.
I think the Avengers will still be do okay. I think the Avengers movie will still do okay, but it's not going to do what they want.
Yeah. When I think, superhero fatigue is here. And then there will be the, natural responses in chats, and you're not wrong. No, it's bad movie fatigue, but you're right. But one creates the other. So however it got here, it's here. And what superhero fatigue means for theaters, and not overall for comic books or anything, just for theaters, is it's not going to be the driver of the box office that it has been. It's had its time. It's done. There will still be good superhero movies that will do well, just like there's good musicals once in a while. But is the musical back? No. There's good Westerns once in a while. Is the Western back? Not yet. Maybe next year. It's kind of looking good, but it's not back. So they'll still be around. But as far as the driver, I remember I went to see Bruce Campbell talk about Evil Dead 2, and he was in there doing a Q&A, and somebody asked him about a Marvel movie, which is funny because he ended up in one as a cameo, but he said he'd never like act in one again. And what he followed up saying, and this was in 2019, this was prior to the Coof, he said, the producers in Hollywood can't wait to get rid of superhero movies. They can't wait. They're too expensive.
Yep.
And they really want to dial it down, but they can't right now because it's the only thing getting people to theaters for the most part. And it's and he's right. He ended up being right. So they'll be willing to abandon this. What's funny is throughout this Marvel run, especially when Bob Chapek went out did that New York Times interview, he was blaming Bob Chapek. Bob Iger was blaming Bob Chapek, but not blaming Kevin Feige, who's the person who greenlit all of this stuff. By the way, under Bob Iger's reign, he greenlit the Captain Marvel sequel, which turned into the Marvel. So that was his baby. He's responsible for that.
Isn't it funny that it kind of ties in when he started doing the whole produced by Kevin Feige credit in the beginning? That's when like Marvel started to fall apart as well.
Yep.
Well, once like Perlmutter was out, like that steadying hand that just kept things on the straight and narrow was gone. And like once you just have Kevin Feige and his intellect to run things, that's when it starts to fall apart. Like what I think he fell victim to this belief that they were invincible, and he fell victim to those persistent calls for more diversity, more representation, more like female-centric stories, and like look where it got them. I mean, I hope it was worth it, Kevin, because you blew like literally the single biggest entertainment franchise in the whole history of cinema on this.
And they had to work really hard to do that. That was it was difficult. That was money printing for sure.
Well, you said it yourself. It was like, you're not going to take down something of this size and this momentum with one bad movie or one bad decision. It's going to have to be a cumulative effect of many, many bad choices that will slowly undermine it and slowly torpedo it. And that's what they've done. They destroyed it as efficiently as they could.
It died for a lot of audience members before they'd even like consciously accepted that. Like a lot of people I know, and I assume you guys have the same thing in real life, just random people. You'd be like, "Oh, you seen the new thing?" And they're just like, "I don't even remember what's going on anymore. Like, I don't even know what the storyline is. I don't remember the individual names of the movies anymore." And you're like, "Do you remember that you did?" And they're like, "Yeah, I guess I did. Yeah, but that's not anymore."
It was a little easier to remember when there was 2 or 3 movies.
Yep. I think it was inevitable that it was going to taper off no matter what you did, but they not only did they make all these bad decisions, it was right after Endgame, which was a natural break point that they could have reset from, and they didn't. And so it was exacerbated by the fact that they just kept trying to push it, and it got to the point where it was just running on fumes, and they were like, well, get out and push the car. Like there's no we've gone too far now,
and they can't go back. They painted themselves into this corner. Thanks.
That is not true that they can't go back. They will try. They will attempt to invoke the time travel and
here's how they can't
all of that.
No, my point is they can't go back. They painted themselves into a corner due to the people who work there.
Oh, okay.
There's you could reset everything and recast Iron Man, Captain America, and Hulk tomorrow, and cast a proper Fantastic Four that looks like the Fantastic Four from the comics. But the people within that company will never allow that to happen. So it's a lack of willingness to make good stories. So no, they can't go back. Not unless they fire everybody. Not unless they pull a Twitter at Disney and almost the entirety of Hollywood right now. And this is going to open the door for a little movie from Japan to start dominating amongst fans. Like this is pure word of mouth. And that's usually how these things work and how these cycles run through. And honestly, this should have happened 3 years ago. But that trend, when things started failing, things used to get canceled. They don't, because now they're being funded through the back door through credit ratings. I covered an article yesterday on Paramount Plus has never turned a profit. It's never turned. Amazingly enough, Kurtzman Trek has never allowed Paramount Plus to turn a profit. Or the Sheridanverse, which is a legitimately very popular #1 show, and it's never turned a profit. And they've been downgraded. Their credit's been downgraded, and the banks that invest in this stuff came out and said, well, the streaming model's never going to be as profitable as the linear model used to be. So that's your death of streaming right there. But you can't go away from it. They've gone so far into this that it's almost become, it's too big to fail and also too big to succeed. And this again opens the door for a smaller studio that could be nimble, that can pivot, and like an A24 or something like that. And we might start getting some more interesting entertainment that's original. But Hollywood's not going to change until they completely hit bottom. I think we're seeing Disney come pretty closer than I ever thought they would. Like company wide, they have brand damage now to the point where people are not taking their kids to Disney World anymore. And this needed to happen. This absolutely needed to happen. And it happened because a bunch of you guys in the chat started speaking up about it. And you know what? You didn't take the shit. You didn't take all the accusations. You stood up and you kept talking about it. And you fought off all the people who said, it's just pop culture. It's just these silly movies. They're not important at all. You fought all that off, and now we're seeing the tide turn. Where it goes, I don't know, but that's it. That's why it's important that we talk about this stuff. And yeah, absolutely celebrating the failure of the Marvels and the failure of Disney. Hell yeah, they earned it.